Welcome back. We've got our team here related to codification improvements related to LIBOR preferences. So with that, let me turn it over to Julie and our team. Good morning, Julie.
Thanks, Rich, and good morning. As you know, LIBOR was a widely used reference rate, but has now been replaced by alternative rates, including secured overnight financing rate, or SOFR. Today, we'll discuss a potential new project to remove or replace LIBOR references in the codification. I will tee up question 1 on agenda analysis and then hand it over to Eric to discuss the related solutions. All the potential amendments are editorial in nature and not intended to change current practice. Starting with question 1, we believe the potential project meets the agenda criteria. There are more than 100 paragraphs that reference LIBOR, and retaining those references would reduce the usefulness of the guidance. We also identified technically feasible approaches to update LIBOR references and therefore recommend that the board add a project to its technical agenda. With that, I'll turn it over to Eric to tee up questions 2 and 3 in the handout.
Thanks, Julie, and good morning, everyone. Question 2 relates to whether the board should remove the LIBOR swap rate from the list of benchmark interest rates and from the master glossary. Current GAAP provides a limited number of benchmark interest rates that entities may designate when hedging the interest rate risk component of fixed rate instruments, including LIBOR. Because LIBOR has been discontinued and is no longer a widely used or a recognized rate in financial markets, the staff recommends removing it from the list of benchmark interest rates and from the master glossary. Question 3 relates to the 3 alternatives identified by the staff to remove or replace the LIBOR references in the codification. The alternatives are detailed in the handout, but at a high level, they reflect the trade-off between the durability of generic rates, for example, interest rate index A, and the usefulness of SOFR-based rates. Alternative A, the combined approach, uses generic rates as a baseline with targeted removal of LIBOR or use of SOFR in limited circumstances to preserve the usefulness of the guidance. Alternative B, the SOFR-based approach, facilitates consistent application of GAAP in a post-LIBOR environment. And alternative C, the generic rate approach, prioritizes durability and reflects a more principles-based approach. After analyzing the advantages and disadvantages of each alternative, the staff recommends alternative B, the SOFR-based approach, as it provides clarity, consistency, and efficiency. The staff acknowledges that the SOFR-based approach may require future updates if SOFR were to be discontinued. However, in that circumstance, standard setting could be necessary to address the effects of contract modifications across various areas of accounting, irrespective of whether SOFR is referenced in GAAP. And as Julie noted a moment ago, all of these amendments would be editorial in nature and are not intended to change current practice. So with that, I will now pass it to the board to discuss questions 1 through 3.
Okay, any questions for the staff? Okay, not seeing any. Sue?
So on question 1, I would support adding a project to the technical agenda. I think, Julie, you coined it. There's over 100 references. And, at this point, I think it does reduce the clarity and understandability of GAAP to continue to have those in the codification. So I would support adding a project, and I agree it meets our agenda criteria. So on the second one about removing the swap, the LIBOR swap branch rate interest rate from the master glossary. I don't know why I can't get that out of my mouth. I think it should be removed from the master glossary. I also think it should be removed from the list of benchmark interest rates. Say that fast 5 times. And I think, similarly to why I think we should add a project to the agenda, I think it will improve the codification overall. On question 3, which is what I call the how of how we actually make these amendments, I think in a perfect world, I would prefer an approach like alternative A, because I think it makes improvements to the codification, but yet allows some flexibility to the extent that the like a generic use of a term. Doesn't make sense that you could use the SOFR term. But regardless of whether we pursue approach A or even approach B, I would not use the SOFR OIS terminology because I think that we have an outstanding exposure draft that would eliminate that. So I would include that here. I would not support alternative C because I don't think it works in all circumstances. So if I had a first preference, and my understanding is that if we, sort of peeking ahead down the road, if we add a project to the agenda on hedge accounting, at some point, some of these suggestion changes would go away with that project, potentially if we add it and depending on what we do in that project. So there's a lot of ifs there. And I think, so for me on this, bringing it back, I think my first preference would be alternative A. My second preference would be alternative B because of the simplicity of it. But I prefer alternative A because I think that the hedge accounting project is a bit far out there at this point. So.
Thanks, Sue. Joyce?
Okay, so regarding question A, I support the staff recommendation to add a project. I agree that the agenda criteria have been met. LIBOR has been largely phased out globally, and the codification should be updated accordingly for references to LIBOR so that the COD is reflective of the changes already being captured in contracts in the global capital markets. Regarding question 2, I support the staff recommendation. It's appropriate, of course, to remove the LIBOR swap rate from the master glossary. Question 3, I support the staff recommendation of alternative B. Certainly, it is fair to say that the markets have settled into the replacement of LIBOR and the use of SOFR. And in my view, alternative B is an objective approach that could we can clearly outline and explain to users of the codification, unlike alternatives A and C, which potentially would use a generic index A as a replacement in LIBOR in some or all circumstances. Alternative B retains the current consistent approach of using a real indices within the COD, which would be useful to users of the COD, because it's my understanding that there are common reference rate transition linkages between LIBOR rates and SOFR rates. So I would expect that the staff would leverage that information in its replacement exercise. And furthermore, stakeholders have already been introduced to SOFR as we have included it in our amendments in the update of 2025-09, where we have incorporated SOFR-based examples.
Okay. Thanks, Joyce. Marsh?
Yes, I would add this project. I consider this to be a housekeeping need in the codification. I am very comfortable removing this from the list of benchmark interest rates in the master glossary. As it relates to the alternatives, while I can understand the conceptual interest in a generic approach to not have to come back should something happen to SOFR at some point down the road, I am comfortable supporting alternative B because I think it is the most expeditious, it is straightforward, and I think that it's helpful. So I would go ahead and I would do this.
Thanks, Marsha. Fred?
Thanks. I also support adding this project. I think, as Marcia said, it's housekeeping and important editorial improvements. Yes, I support removing it from the list. And I also support alternative B. I'm much in line with what Joyce had said, but I think that it's objective, it provides clarity, and it's much more straightforward for users of the COD to understand. I would also say that, I don't think we really need to spend a lot of time preparing for SOFR to go away. I think if SOFR goes away at some point in the future, we're going to have a lot of standard setting to do. So,
Thanks, Fred. Christine?
Add, remove, and Alt B.
Lori?
I would add the project, remove it from the list of benchmark interest rates in the master glossary. With regards to the different alternatives, I will say that I was originally in an alternative A camp, right? Having some using generic where possible, but then using SOFR when we think it's necessary, for example, in a list. But I will say that when taking a look at all of the examples, all 104 references that the staff provided, and seeing 35 instances where we would still have SOFR as the actual reference. To me, I don't see any difference really between that and alternative B, where if there were a change that we would need to address it, we're going to be addressing it, whether it's alternative A or not. I also think, alternative C has I think, a view of it may sound better, like let's just move to a generic rate so we don't have to come back to this again. I do think looking at it, when you look at what that would look like in the codification, it's slightly confusing. I don't think it's necessarily something that our stakeholders, I think they could be more confused than helped by that. So while I think that might be an interesting kind of priority from a staff and a board perspective, I don't think that that's best serving our stakeholders necessarily. I also think we will likely make bigger changes to hedge accounting, which will allow us to come back and take a look at this. And I will happily take on the bet that I think we will make those changes before SOFR goes away. So.
Okay. One, I would add a project to the agenda. Two, definitely remove any references to LIBOR in the benchmark interest rates or master glossary. So fine with that. C, I must admit, my preference would be to move away from referring to a rate. So I guess I would be more in the A camp or C camp. But since that doesn't matter, I think at least B gets rid of LIBOR. So I certainly understand that. So you can put me down for A, but the majority of the board is in B. So with that, back to you, Trey.
Thank you, Rich. I will now tee up the remaining questions 4 through 8 together. For question 4, related to technical corrections to example 9, beginning in paragraph 815, 30, 55, 52. Example 9 currently illustrates a cash flow hedge of forecasted issuances of variable rate notes, but contains inconsistencies identified by stakeholders. Specifically, a series of forecasted issuances of notes typically does not have a contractually specified variable interest rate. To address the issue, the staff recommends amending the hedged item from floating rate notes to fixed rate notes and replacing LIBOR with SOFR. For question 5 on transition, the staff considered that the amendments are not expected to affect existing transactions or hedging relationships. This is because LIBOR references are generally used for illustrative purposes and due to the cessation of LIBOR. Therefore, the staff recommends that the amendments be applied prospectively. This recommendation is consistent with recent codification improvement projects and prior amendments to topic 815. For question 6 on benefits and costs, the staff believes that the amendments would maintain the codification and address minor inconsistencies in current guidance. The staff does not anticipate that entities will incur significant costs because the amendments are intended to be editorial in nature and not expected to change current GAAP. Therefore, the staff thinks that the expected benefits of the recommended changes would justify the expected costs. For question 7, based on today's discussion, the staff requests permission to draft the proposed update for a vote by ballot. And lastly, for question 8, the staff originally recommended a 90-day comment period. However, given the board's support for alternative B in question 3, the board may want to evaluate whether a shorter comment period would be appropriate. And with that, I will now pass it back to the board to discuss questions 4 through 8 in the meeting handout.
Okay. Trey, given your comments, my guess is somebody's going to recommend something less than 90 days. And what is that? Anyone?
60 days.
60. Any other?
45.
Okay. And one day we're going to get 7 recommendations for a comment period. And I'm going to be very interested in how that turns out. So, okay. So,
Can I ask one question?
yes.
What's the expected timing roughly? November? Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. On that point, I would just say because we have a large volume of exposure drafts coming, and as we get closer to issuance, to the extent that we see a conflict with a holiday or hopefully one that's more than one day, but a holiday period or where we have a volume that's building that we think stakeholders will need more time, we would bring that back to the board to possibly amend a comment period. Okay. All right. Sue?
So I agree with the staff on questions 4 and 5. On question 6, I think the expected benefits justify the expected costs. On question 7, I give the staff permission to ballot a proposed update. And on question 8, which is the comment period, I would support 60 days.
Okay. Joyce?
Question 4, I support the staff recommendation. Same with question 5. I have support there. Question 6, I think the expected benefits justify the expected costs for the reasons the staff has stated. 7, I give permission to draft a proposed update. And with 8, given the high volume of exposure drafts and the priority that would be placed on this particular exposure draft, I agree with the 90-day comment period.
Okay. Thanks, Joyce. Marcia?
Okay, with regards to question 4, I support the staff draft, and I'll just point out that with success of our earlier conversation, this would go away in the long term. On question 5, comfortable with the transition approach, yes. On 6, yes, permission to ballot. As it relates to the effective date, I know that we've got a lot of things out there, but I also view this very much as a housekeeping item. So just to make it interesting, I'll go 45.
Fred, a lot counting on you here. Go ahead.
Thanks. On question 4, I do support the staff recommendation. I think as we put this out, it's important to recognize, to make sure our stakeholders are clear that this is editorial changes and not meant to change this example that I know there's some issues with. 5, I also support the prospective application. Yes, I expect the benefits to exceed the costs. Give permission to ballot, and just to, I guess every alternative has been voted for, I guess.
There's a lot of other dates available, Fred, so.
I'll go with 60.
Okay, Christine?
Yes, I agree with the staff recommendations on questions 4 and 5. I do think that the benefits will exceed the costs. Permission to ballot, yes, and 60 days.
Okay, Hillary?
With regards to question 4, I agree with the technical corrections, but agree with Fred. We need to make it clear what we're doing here and what we're not, because I think example 9 is fairly dangerous to touch with regards to practitioner standpoint. But I understand why we're making the changes, and I'm supportive of that. Agree with prospective transition. Agree that the expected benefits outweigh the costs. Give the staff permission to draft a proposed update, and I would suggest a 45-day comment period.
So on question 4, I agree with the staff recommendation. I'm fine with prospective amendments. I think the benefits exceed the costs, certainly of removing a reference to a reference rate that no longer exists. And I do give the staff permission to propose an update for written ballot. I must admit, I was going to say 30 days because I can't imagine how it could take anyone longer than that to review it. But given you need me to vote for one of these others, I will vote for 60 days so that we can be done. Okay.
I mean, the alternative was you voted for 45 and you asked somebody to change.
I'm assuming the 90-day person would go to 60 versus 45, so I didn't think I would save us a little time. So with that,
You would be correct.
yeah. So with that, I want to thank the team. Appreciate the work. Eric, this is your final meeting as well. So I want to thank you for all your help. We've enjoyed having you here on the staff, and we look forward to staying in touch and hearing about your future successes. So. Okay, with that, we're going to move to our final topic, financial KPIs. So we're going to swap out our teams.